One of my big concerns while I was incarcerated was who's ever going to want to befriend me? Who's ever going to want to marry me? You know, who's going to give me a chance? I've gone to prison for trying to have somebody killed. All the other baggage in my life, you know, who is going to look at me without a biased opinion?
You may have heard of him before. Mike Danton, the former St. Louis Blues center, who in 2004 was convicted for attempting to have a man killed. What you may not have heard is the comeback story of Mike Danton. Not back to the NHL, but back to being a person he could be proud of. It began in prison on a day when his life almost ended.
I was in county jail, and you know, my whole life I just wanted to play hockey. And I think it caught up to me that I realized that hockey was going to be taken away from me. I was sitting on the top of a bunk bed. I wrote the names of some people that were in my life, that were important in my life, up on a wall. I had a towel. They give you a towel. So I cut the towel into strands. I made a noose and I tied it around my neck. You know, my reasoning was if hockey wasn't going to be a part of my life, then I didn't want to live. So I just jumped off the top. The noose went up against my neck and snapped. It had ripped one of the parts that I tied a knot in. I sat there on the ground looking at the names on the wall, and I kept crying. And it was at that point where, you know, I just realized that there was something else for me. If I was supposed to die that day, then that would have been the day that I would have died. You know, obviously it wasn't, and there was another purpose for me. So I told myself that, you know, when it's time to go, I'll go, but it's not going to be from my doing. And I started working on myself from that day forward. It was tough, but you know, I had a pretty good wake-up call.
For the remaining 65 months of his sentence, Danton began to take classes, undergo psychotherapy, study a side of himself he hadn't explored before. Upon his release in the fall of 2009, he needed to find an environment that supported his growth and also supported a return to the game he loved.
I received a voicemail on my phone, and just very straight to the point. It's Mike Danton calling and would like to look into possibly going to school.
He just mentioned it in passing that he received a phone call, and you know, I was kind of taken back and didn't really know if it was possible, if the rules would allow it. Immediately, different scenarios start running through your mind.
Players knew that, hey, you know, this guy's played pro. He may come in and take some of your ice time away. He may come in and take your spot on the power play. He may come in and take your spot on the penalty killing. You know, are you okay with this?
The team was okay with this. In fact, it had been their choice to bring Danton aboard. Team captain Mark Rancourt had written a letter to the coach explaining why they should allow Danton onto the team. It was signed by every player.
We have all made mistakes, perhaps not to the extent of his, but serious enough that we have had to ask for forgiveness or a second chance. We have the unique opportunity here to provide Mike with a second chance that he has not only earned, but he is entitled to. Thank you as always for allowing me to voice my opinion. Sincerely, Mark Rancourt, captain of St. Mary's Huskies hockey team.
Getting some form of hockey back is part of Danton's redemption.
You know, I'm the same player that I've always been. I'm a hard-working guy with lots of energy. I'm physical, and you know, when I need to score, when I need to make good plays, I'll make them. I've always been the same player. I'm not going to change.
You feel like you're playing with a guy that used to be in the NHL, and do you see flashes of that?
When you give Mike a pass, if it's a bad pass, if it's a hard pass, it's amazing what he can pick up, and the speed at which he can do some of the things on the ice at. I sometimes just sit back and watch the way he's able to handle the puck. You can understand, you know, how he got to where he did.
I've always been that type of player that you don't look at and go, yeah, he's going to be a top 6 forward. Not too many skilled players, you know, enjoy the physical play and fighting as much as I do. I thrive in that competitive, hard battling style of game.
With Danton on the team, a solid player if not a star, the St. Mary's Huskies won the Canadian Inter-University title last season. But Danton's other achievement, perhaps his greater achievement, has come in the classroom. A psychology major, he's the Canadian equivalent of an academic All-American. But even that doesn't go far enough. His grade point average is a hair under 4.0. Professors say he's among the best students they've ever taught.
What is really impressive about him is how dedicated he is, how diligent he is, and how self-exacting he is. He treated this course and his academics like a professional.
You know, most of the kids I'm in class with are 18, 19, 20 years old. You know, I'm 10 to 12 years older than them. They're interested in, you know, messing around in class and flirting and going out and drinking every night, and that's not my crowd.
Why psychology? What grips you about that?
Well, myself. There was a lot of psychological issues that comprised my crime and what went down. I wasn't in the right mind frame to be a professional athlete. I wasn't in the right mind frame to be an adult. The more and more that I learned about myself, a flashbulb just was like, wow, this all makes sense now. Looking forward, I want to play hockey, and I'd love to play in the NHL again. I'm hoping that I can make an impression on someone at the NHL level or another professional level, that they're willing to take a chance on me, just like St. Mary's did. But even if I can play professional next year, hypothetically speaking, that's not going to last forever. I've made promises here that I'm going to graduate, that I'm going to get my degree, and I've made promises to myself. That's what I intend on doing. I'm 30 years old, and I need to make a decision with my life. I need a backup plan. I want to get married. I want to have kids. That's the one thing that I've wanted more than anything my whole life.
We tend to measure comeback stories by the usual sports metrics. All-star games, titles, MVPs. But considering where Mike Danton was, where he is now, and where he seems to be heading, this goes beyond a return.
You ever been happier than you are now?
No.
Happy as you've been?
Yeah, by far. I'm more at home with myself. I think, was I happy playing in the NHL? 100%. I was happy with the money, I was happy with the fame, I was happy with where I was living, I could buy whatever I wanted, but I know myself now. Wasn't a happy individual back then. I had materialistic things that surrounded me. Now I have very little materialistic things around me, and I just know the type of person I am, and I'm much better off. I'm completely at peace right now.